All right, let's get to the question I know all of you are asking. What does really a Keir Starmer government mean for India, mean for the Indian community, the Indian diaspora in the United Kingdom? Let's just draw that comparison up for you. Rishi Sunak versus a Keir Starmer on ties with India. Of course, we've all seen those images of Rishi Sunak, someone who's so deeply rooted in Indian culture and tradition, go beyond just bilateral ties and focus on cultural relations as well. But Keir Starmer also, unlike his presidency in the Labour Party, has made it clear that they are focused very much on enhancing ties with India. A new strategic partnership is what he's spoken about while also interacting with the Indian diaspora. What's also going to be extremely important to watch out for is the free trade agreement which could be signed between India and UK as a result of freeing up some of the hassles that we've seen really between India and UK on issues like student visas. Now on immigration. Now, there was a legal cap to curb immigration that was brought in by the Sunak government. Keir Starmer also expected to continue that, says they will crack down on illegal immigration. But remember that this is a left-leaning party, so could be a little more liberal than the Sunak government. Also, very importantly, what was controversial with regards to the Sunak government was the Rwanda project, which transported illegal immigrants out of the UK to Rwanda. This is something that will be shelved immediately by, in fact, Starmer's government. Besides that, there's also the very important issue of whether this means good news for, in fact, Indians who are looking to immigrate to the UK. Yes, because Starmer, in all likelihood, will focus on skill-based immigration, which is good news for India. And remember, on the other hand, Rishi Sunak was largely willing to give in to pressure and go ahead and actually crack down on student visas. What about work permits? Another thing that affects the Indian diaspora. A legal cap on work and family visas was something that was in place. As far as Keir Starmer concerned, a ban on employers who are illegally hiring workers from abroad is something that he's promised. Illegally is the key word here. But besides that, will it affect the Indian diaspora that's currently working in the UK? Unlikely, because Starmer has worked hard on ensuring that he sends out that message that he's not against immigration. And those are pictures on your screens right now of Sir Keir Starmer meeting with King Charles. It was at this moment that he was officially appointed as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And this is, of course, because of the fact that you had that huge mandate that came in for him, for the Labour Party. So what exactly does this landslide victory mean for India? I broke it down for you in a few points. Let's break it down and decode it further for you in our next report.
We did it! You campaigned for it, you fought for it, you voted for it, and now it has arrived. Change begins now.
One of the areas where change is expected is immigration. The outgoing government, led by Rishi Sunak, shocked UK by transporting illegal immigrants out of Rwanda, even as boatloads of immigrants kept crossing the English Channel into England. The new government is expected to reset the policy and a huge boost for aspirants from India focused on skill-based immigration. This is what Keir Starmer had said about immigration last year at the Indian Global Forum.
Well, we need to get the skills balance right, and at the moment, I just don't think we've got a skills strategy to speak of. So we need the skills strategy. We need to therefore look at what skills we do have, what skills we do need. And at the moment, there's just a complete mismatch out there, I think.
The new Labour government in the UK, which returns after sitting in opposition benches for 14 years, is also expected to fast forward the free trade agreement with India. The FTA has been on the negotiating table for 30 months and despite 14 rounds of negotiations, is no closer to being signed. The new party in its manifesto has said that it would seek a new strategic partnership with India, including a free trade agreement as well as deepening cooperation in areas like security, education, technology and climate change.
A relationship based on our shared values of democracy and aspiration, that will seek a free trade agreement. We share that ambition, but also a new strategic partnership for global security, climate security, economic security. This is the essential truth of the world we live in.
Experts, however, believe that there could be some minor changes to the FTA based on the new government's priorities. However, UK remains keen on a trade deal with India, especially after Brexit. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
All right, let's take this back across to Geeta Mohan joining us live from London. Geeta, London, the United Kingdom, basking in all of the celebration right now of this big change in guard. But what really does it mean for India is something everyone's talking about. You've actively been speaking to and engaging with the Indian diaspora there. What do they make of this mandate? What do they make of this election result?
Well, the Indian diaspora over here, quite frankly, Akshita, quite a few of them were actually rooting for Rishi Sunak, maybe because of the emotional connect, more to do with that than to do with the fact that it's the Conservatives. But they knew that there's a Labour wave. They knew that they have to engage the Labour government as well. And many of them are part of the Labour government and the Labour Party, not the government yet, but the Labour Party. So for the Indian community, it is going to be a continuum in terms of how they are engaged by governments over here. And it is because for these governments, Indian community is quite important and significant. It's no longer a labor class, working class only kind of a group. The Indian community represents some of the most wealthy, affluent and influential people here in British politics and British society. You will be seeing representation of the Indian community even in government. So, and Keir Starmer himself, during his campaigning, visited temples, went and met the Indian community. He attached as much importance to the Indian community and the Indian diaspora as Rishi Sunak did. So it is a very significant and an important diaspora here, and the Indian origin Brits over here. So we will have to see how the government is going to look at including them, becoming more inclusive in bringing them in. But that's something that's always been on Keir Starmer's agenda. Look at the manifesto, Akshita. The manifesto clearly has paragraphs on how India has to be engaged and how important the Indian community here in the United Kingdom really is.
Very, very true. So I think there has been a lot of focus on the Indian diaspora, knowing full well the importance. But yes, you're right to also highlight that there was this emotional connect that the Indian diaspora had with Rishi Sunak, almost like he was one of us. He, of course, showed off his cultural and traditional roots so very often, even in the run-up to this election, that you kind of understand that sentiment. But it's the end of Rishi Raj in the United Kingdom. So what next for Sunak and Akshata Murthy? They moved out of 10 Downing Street. Those are the images of them as they exited, all smiles, holding hands. Now they move back to their mansion in Richmond. Because remember, Sunak is still a member of Parliament. He's retained his Richmond seat.
A historic mandate for Keir Starmer, translating to the end of Rishi Raj in UK. Rishi Sunak has conceded defeat, and so far the only silver lining for Sunak has been that he's held on to his seat, Richmond in North England.
I have heard your anger, your disappointment, and I take responsibility for this loss. To all the Conservative candidates and campaigners who worked tirelessly but without success, I'm sorry that we could not deliver what your efforts deserved. It pains me to think how many good colleagues who contributed so much to their communities and our country will now no longer sit in the House of Commons. I thank them for their hard work and their service.
Sunak and Akshata soon after speech moved out of 10 Downing Street as crowds waved to them, signalling the end of Sunak's reign as PM.
I will never forgive them for that.
Okay.
You know.
So bye-bye Tories for you.
So yeah, it's a great move.
So what next for Sunak? The outgoing British Prime Minister will remain a parliamentarian and is expected to move back to his Richmond mansion with his wife Akshata Murthy and their 2 daughters. Rishi Sunak calls his beautiful mansion home the Kirby Singston Manor, which he bought in 2015 for a whopping £1.5 million or about 14 crore rupees. This ancient mansion that stood tall since the 1800s has been refurbished with a pool, gym and a tennis court. The property even has a lake and a boathouse. He may be out as a UK Prime Minister, but he's still going to be super busy now with corporate commitments which were on pause while he served the country. a banker, a public speaker, an editor for newspaper. Sunak has donned many hats, and so he has a platter of offers to choose from today. Rishi Sunak, known famously to be richer than King Charles, is looking at a chance of address now. Back from the London to Richmond. But seeing what awaits him at home, he perhaps has a whole lot to look forward to despite losing the election. Bureau Report, India Today.